this is Brianna here at Books&Briars. Today I wanted to give you the Try a Chapter tag created by BookParadise. I've been meaning to do this video for about a week now, but last week I got really sick and I lost my voice. So making a video where I talk to a camera wasn't really happening, especially because I already strained my voice at work trying to teach hordes of young children. So, this is a bit later than I wanted it to be, but here we have it. So the Try a Chapter tag was created by BookParadise as a way of sort of culling your TBR pile. Like, you have all these books that you want to read, and instead of just staring at them like, oh god, what do I read next? You just pick up a few, read the first chapter, and decide, am I going to continue reading this? Yes or no? And you go in with a mindset of, if I don't like it, I can put it away, give it to someone else, take it back to the library, what have you. So I decided to take 5 books that I was really interested in, 3 of which I actually own in physical editions, which is really exciting because I don't own physical books. I'm in a small apartment in a different country. So I chose 5 books that I've been wanting to get to, read the first chapter or so, first 20 pages in some of them rather than actual chapter, and decided, am I going to continue reading this? Yes or no? So the first book where I read the first chapter or so is Book of Lies by Brad Meltzer. My mother sent me this and 2 other Brad Meltzer books because I was complaining about having the lack of physical books to read for pleasure. Most of the physical books that I own because I have to read them for school, and therefore I had to order them because I couldn't get them in an ebook form. This one is the most intriguing of the ones that she sent me, the one that I asked for specifically, because this book says it's a combination of Cain and Abel and Superman. And the connection there is seems sort of mystical weapon of murder, and someone is trying to find it and other people are caught up. And I don't actually know much of the plot of this because I've only read the first 20 pages or so. My mom really likes these books because of the political intrigue and the bits of history and American politics that are sort of in all of this. So it's honestly not really my cup of tea. I'm not a big fan of political books, but I will continue reading this because it was so highly recommended by my mom and because she went to the trouble of buying these and sending them to me. I have to read at least one of them. But in the first few chapters of this book, there is a rather graphic depiction of somebody being injected by a needle, and needles really squick me out, so I was not too pleased with that, and I probably would not pick this book up if it weren't for the fact that my mother is so enamored of this writer, and I need to see what all the buzz is about from my mom. Yes, I will continue reading this. No, it is not the top of my pile. I want to read it before I leave Korea, so I have until the end of February. The second book I picked up at a sort of book exchange. It's not really a book exchange because I purchased it because I didn't have any books, but foreigners who are living in Korea can donate their books before they leave, and the books can be resold for profit for sustaining this whole foreigner bookshop, basically. And that is In the Miso Soup by Murakami. I picked this book up because I was looking at reading more books in translation, and this is a translation from the original Japanese. And this is yet another murder mystery kind of book. This one is about a young entrepreneur in Japan, a man who basically goes around and gives tours of the sex industry in Tokyo to high-paying foreigners. And so he gets a client who he thinks might be the man responsible for the murders of prostitutes going on around Tokyo. And I read the first few pages of this, like the first 20 pages, and that's only like a quarter of the first chapter. But I am in love with the writing style of this book. Like, it is told from, who is it, Kenji? Kenji's the main male character. It is told from his point of view, and he is so, like, engaging as a perspective character. He obviously has his own goals and he's going for them. And I'm interested to see how he's going to continue to interact with this man who was introduced who seems to be a bit of a sociopath. And he is just straight up lying and Kenji is catching all of it. And I am really intrigued to see what Kenji's gonna do when he discovers that this man is quite probably a murderer. But this one, I'm really engaged and really interested to see where it goes, so looking forward to continuing to read this. The third book that I picked up is one that I have owned in a physical copy for about a year, and that is Drifting House by Krys. I bought this before I came to South Korea because I wanted to read more books from a Korean author. And Krys is a woman who was born in Seoul, South Korea, moved to America, and then moved back. She currently works at a university in Seoul, and she is also a writer of short stories. So this is a bind-up of several of her short stories. I am kind of intrigued because her writing style reminds me of things that I read as an undergrad, and I know that one of my professors would definitely love this book, but I'm reading it more for nostalgia, I guess, and the need that I have to read Korean authors, even though she's sort of Korean American. So she writes about the immigrant experience, it seems. Like the first story is about a woman who divorced her husband in Korea and took her daughter and moved to America, and sort of how she's dealing with that or not dealing with that, as the case may be. I'm intrigued. I'm not super engaged, so I will give this book one more shot. If I don't like it, then there's always that book exchange that I mentioned that I can just donate my books to. So I'll read one or two more stories from here, but I don't know, maybe not continue and read the entire book. We'll see. And that concludes the physical book portion of this video, and on to my other two books, one of which is an ebook and another is an audiobook. I'll start with the audiobook because I picked that up first, and that is a nonfiction book called When Books Went to War by Molly Guptill Manning. I am probably saying her last name incredibly wrong, but I don't know, her first name is Molly, that's easy enough. So this is a book about the role of books in World War II and the creation of the National Council of Books in Wartime and the printing of the ASE Armed Services editions of books, specifically books to be given to the soldiers on the ground, who these books were made to be light, easily carried, easily read, so that they could be taken by the soldiers and used as entertainment, because other forms of entertainment were extremely costly, and in order to keep morale up. It's a really validating book to be reading as someone who is an avid reader and also who wants to eventually publish my own writing, because it's just validating the place of books in ideas of peace and war, and how important it is to have books to enable people to fight for ideas and to continue to defend, to be cliche, to defend freedom. It's also really powerful to be reading this book now as the media presence of Donald Trump and other extreme ideologies are trying to fight to destroy other people's identities and religions and ideals, and to see the power of books to fight against this is really great, and I am really looking forward to finishing this book, and I'm definitely going to be doing a discussion video about it because there's so much. I need to stop talking about it now because I've obviously read more than just the first chapter, and I'm going to continue this, and I'm going to finish it hopefully soon because it's amazing, and I really want to talk more about it, but I don't feel like I can talk about it until I finish reading it. Final book that I started for this video was an ebook, and to read this one I got a sample off of Amazon Kindle. And if you have a Kindle or a Kindle reading app, which is free so everyone can get it if you have any sort of electronic device, basically with internet connection and an Amazon account, obviously. But if you go onto the Kindle store, you can select send a sample to my device, and you can get the first maybe 20 pages, maybe the first chapter of a book sent to your Kindle or your Kindle reading app, and you can read it and decide if you want to actually purchase it or not. So that's what I did with this book. This book is called Carry the Ocean by Heidi Cullinan, and this is a LGBT coming of age love story about two boys, one who just graduated from high school and another who is in the summer of his first year after university, and they both have rather supreme mental disabilities according to the rest of the world. One of them is on the autism spectrum and the other one has clinical depression, and it's basically like how they're struggling to engage with the world, but how they can manage to find and engage with each other on a level that they didn't expect other people to understand, especially one who isn't suffering from the same mental disorder. So it's really eye-opening because it's told from both perspectives, from both boys, and you really see how the world looks through these mental illnesses, and it's really powerful. It is a really powerful book, and that was just from the sample. I haven't gone past that yet, and I am really looking forward to reading this. I am going to read it within the next few days. It's representations that you don't have in books most of the time, and it's not a representation of this is a book about mental illness. This is a book about love and overcoming society's ideas of what you should do or what you can do, and being more than a disability, especially with help from other people. I'm super interested. I've said that about all of these, but I'm really interested in continuing reading this book. So I think that's going to be it for this try a chapter tag. I obviously have not culled anything because I'm still going to continue reading all of this, and then I have a bunch of other books that I haven't read yet. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If anything that I mentioned sounds interesting to you, let me know what you think I should read first, and I will try to do book discussions on more videos because I'm really interested in having more talks with people. If you're interested in doing this tag, I invite you to do it as well, because I can see how it would be really great at culling the bookshelf, culling your TBR, but I feel like I'm committed to these books. Maybe this isn't such a great tag for me because once I start reading a book, I feel committed to it unless it does something to horribly offend me. I don't know, give it a shot. Maybe you'll find some books that you didn't think were interesting, or maybe you'll find some books that you thought were interesting that maybe you don't jam with the writing style. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's all I have for you today, so I will see you next time.